Jazwares. It's a company commonly known nowadays as the people behind the FNAF merchandise, as well as the Fortnite stuff. There once was a time where Jazwares had their hands on the Sonic the Hedgehog license, and boy was it amazing. Their action figure line was amazing, and their plush line was a little lackluster with only a few characters being available. You had Sonic, Silver, Shadow, Tails, and a bunch of the classic characters as well. Now these Sonic plushies are actually well sought after by a bunch of Sonic collectors in the scene. Some of these plushies being very common to see, and some of them just being straight up rare and hard to find. Here in this video, I will be talking about how I got my 12-inch Jazwares Sonic the Hedgehog plush. Now to give background on this plush was released alongside the 20th anniversary line for Sonic the Hedgehog merchandise, so this is around the Sonic Generations era. Once again, Jazwares had the line at the time, and they were pumping out merchandise like crazy. And at this time, I was a pretty huge Sonic fan. Unfortunately though, I never really had the time to get any Sonic merchandise in any form. Sure, there was the cartoon Sonic X for the CW4 kids at the time. I also had access to YouTube videos at the time as well, just borrowing my mom's laptop. But I never really owned anything physical related to Sonic the Hedgehog. However, on one Christmas night in 2013, I got my first ever Sonic the Hedgehog plush. And this was the 12-inch Jazwares Sonic plush. I was absolutely happy. I honestly didn't know how to react because it was my first ever Sonic toy. One thing's for sure though, I definitely already knew that I owned something physically Sonic the Hedgehog related finally. This quite literally was my favorite plush growing up as a kid. I would literally take him everywhere I'd go. And I even have a silly little photo of me holding the plush, but you don't really see it, it's just tucked in within my arm. It's all just a pretty simple tale of a boy who's in love with his toy. Now why am I telling you guys this? Because unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, where around the time of me owning this plush, I ended up moving houses a lot. And in between those times of moving, I wound up losing this plush along the way, some way, somehow. The last time I ever really saw this plush, someone fucking drew on it, and it wasn't even in my hands anymore. Here's just a little example of what it looked like when somebody drew on it. I don't know who did this, but if I find you somehow, some way, I'm gonna fucking... I was just really devastated. I never really took the time to take this plushie with me in my last and final move. And honestly, it's pretty normal for kids to lose their toys some way, somehow along the line of them owning them. Years have passed and I haven't really thought about it, but definitely in the back of my mind, it still haunted me. That was my first ever Sonic plush and my first ever Sonic toy overall. So the more that time passed, the more I couldn't bear it anymore, and I wanted to own another one. So then I decided, you know what, let's go on eBay and check it out. And lo and behold, aftermarket prices absolutely kicked my ass when it came to looking for this plush. See, Jazwares has been retired for a long time now, and because of that, it caused a lot of the merchandise to be retro and nostalgic for a lot of people. Now I use the word retro because these aren't really vintage, they're not even that old. And who do we have to blame for this sort of thing? Well, we'll talk about that later on. One thing's for sure though, I wasn't gonna get this plush anytime soon around the time when I wanted to get him. So I waited patiently. Day in and day out, I would constantly be looking for this plush like over and over again, and I would literally be stalking eBay and other websites that might be selling stuff like that too. I would even have a fair share of people help me out along the way when it came to looking for this plushie because I was that desperate for it. Alas, it came to a point to where I just simply gave up on it and just didn't worry so much about looking for one. Throughout this entire time of me looking for a Jazwares Sonic plush, a lot of other plushies have been released further down the line as time went on. May I add, plushies that possibly outclassed this Jazwares Sonic plush in terms of quality and design. But I didn't really care about what plushie was better over the other. I just wanted my first Sonic toy back. And so for the longest time, I waited. Until one fateful day on October 24th of 2025, I finally found a listing. Thanks to my good friend Larry, aka Xhalo.
I'm living my best life.
Who may or may not be the reason why everyone's going crazy over the Jazwares plushies just because he owns almost every Sonic plush. I kinda yelled at him for it too, but he showed me a listing for a Sonic plush that was actually pretty decently priced because, well, a lot of them are priced heavily nowadays. So, with a little bit of YouTube money and some sheer luck, I eventually got the Sonic plushie in my own collection. And my goodness, I love him. So now I'll hand the video over to my live reaction to me opening up this package. Oh my gosh, here it is. I don't know why I'm overly, like, excited for this, because this is something that, of course, you guys already know by this time. It's just like, it's something I had as a child, but lost over time. So let's just get right into it and see it for ourselves once again. This is probably going to be like really nostalgic for me, if I'm being completely honest. Oh, snap. I'm like, oh shoot, there he is. Here he is. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, here he is. Okay, let's move this aside. And oh my gosh, he's a lot smaller than I remembered, but then again, I had him as a child, so it only makes sense why he felt so big. But holy crap, here he is. Oh, God. I finally have him again. It's fucking crazy to believe. Yeah, let's just go over this guy's details. Obviously, this is Jazwares Sonic, specifically the 12-inch one that was released with the 20th anniversary stuff. Gosh, where do we even begin? I guess I'll just show how it looks all the way around, and oh my gosh, the way how the spikes look, even the back spikes finally being stuffed instead of it being like flat fabric material. The smile, there it is, the iconic smile of Sonic. The eyes look so cool. Now the brows aren't actually like what you'd usually see on other Sonic plushies, but it's still pretty cool how they just try to like design it where it's like the shiny embroider blue. His nose is actually pretty small, but it's not so bad. The muzzle actually doesn't look so bad. It looks a lot better than the smaller version, that's for sure. His stomach, he's like pretty big. He's kind of lanky, but like not too lanky. He's just like he's just built like Sonic, obviously. Yeah, the chest, very round stomach. His arms are pretty long with this giant freaking marshmallow hands and toothpick arms. Just really big fists. Yo! Oh, I'm having too much fun with this. The tush tag, still right there, Sonic the Hedgehog. And on the back, you can see all that stuff right there. Now, obviously, this isn't mint condition, but who cares? You can only get so much so far. I'm not even saying words at this point. His legs, pretty cool. Nothing too much there to be seen, but now we get to the shoes, which are just awesome. Love the way how Jazwares did the shoes. Love how it goes from, like, obviously the shoe area, the little white, like, lace, I guess you could call it that, the buckle, midsole, and then even on the back of the midsole, you have that little design that Sonic shoes have. No treads at the bottom, which is funny because, like, obviously the Tails plush has that. But yeah, that's Jazwares Sonic. It's him, the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Most importantly, my first ever Sonic plush. Now, I brought some other Sonic plushies just for the comparison. Here he is next to the Great Eastern Classic Sonic. These guys look pretty cool next to each other. I would say they'd blend in together because obviously Classic Sonic is smaller. Nothing too different here, of course, other than the material and the design. Just for fun, here he is right next to 2022 GE Sonic with the more modernized design, which these guys look a little more similar to each other in terms of height. Jazwares Sonic still towers over. Actually, let me adjust the camera and see. They're almost around the same height, but Sonic's head on this side is obviously a lot bigger. And last but certainly not least, the most overrated Sonic plush of all time, the Sony Sonic plushies. And this guy's just so tiny compared to Jazwares the Chad Sonic. Boom! Yep. Actually, I almost forgot. Here he is right next to Baby Sonic. Both by Jazwares, both released around the same time. Obviously, there's just a smaller version. And here he is, he's with his papa, Big Sonic and Baby Sonic. Just very quickly, I would like to say thank you, X-Halo. Thank you, Larry. Of course, you helped me out by finding this plushie at a very decent price, especially in a time when I was really desperate for looking for him. And it's even been a while because, like, I've actually been looking for the Sonic plush for the longest time, especially throughout this whole year. And just a lot of the listings have been selling him for a crazy amount of prices. So, yeah, again, thank you, Larry. Go ahead and check out his channel. I'll have it linked in the description. And, gosh, guys, I'm just really happy right now because I get to share this with you guys, and I get to finally complete my collection that I once had as a child and just lost it. I did have Jazwares Tales. I don't really care much about getting that one, but if I really wanted to, maybe I'll get it, since he's a little bit on the cheaper side as opposed to Jazwares Sonic. But other than that, that's been today's little video. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below. Other than that, it's been Zach, and catch me up. I'm out of here.